She showed up in a linen dress, so they told her to leave. But moments later, a $100 million super yacht pulled in, and the truth stunned them all. Elena glanced at the towering white columns of the Seaforth Yacht Club as she stepped from the taxi, her simple linen dress catching the morning breeze. Her heart fluttered, not with excitement, but with that familiar quiver of doubt. She smoothed the fabric at her waist, aware of the soft cotton's difference from the tailored silks and chiffons she'd glimpsed through the showroom window of a nearby boutique. But today wasn't about fashion. Today was about Victor's surprise gathering, an intimate luncheon to celebrate their 5th anniversary with only a handful of close friends. Take a second to subscribe. It really helps. Thanks. Now back to the story. She held the engraved invitation in one hand, Victor's elegant script promising warmth and laughter. As she approached the oak double doors, a cluster of uniformed greeters paused their conversation and turned toward her. The harbor master, Lawson, stepped forward with his chin tilted up, studying her with narrowed eyes. "I'm sorry, ma'am," he said, voice polite but firm. "This is private property. You'll need a membership card or an appointment." Elena offered him the invitation. "My husband sent this," she said softly. "Victor Harper." She gestured toward the shimmering harbor beyond, where the bow of their super yacht, Aurora Dawn, bobbed in gentle waves. Lawson's gaze flicked past her to the water and back at her dress. He tapped the paper, lips pressed in a thin line. "I'm not seeing a membership number." Her pulse quickened. "It's not needed. It's an invitation." He shook his head. "Rules are rules, ma'am." She swallowed, heat rising to her cheeks. She'd faced judgment before. Friends who called her Miss Simple, as a whisper behind her back, staff at gala after gala who imagined she was the help. But always Victor would sweep in, head held high, announcing her place beside him. Today, without him by her side, doubt had found its voice. "I'm sorry," she murmured, then turned to leave. Each step away from the grand entrance felt like a stitch ripping in her confidence. Behind her, the creak of the harbor master's gloves sounded louder than any laughter she feared was hidden beyond those imposing doors. The sun dipped low over the harbor as Elena stood on the deck of the Aurora Dawn, the scent of salt air mingling with the gentle hum of engines. Here, beneath the gleaming steel and polished teak, she felt most herself, grounded by the steady sway of the sea and the promise of open horizons. She remembered the first time she'd met Victor, back when she worked as an intern at a marine biology institute. He'd been the enthusiastic benefactor who'd funded her research into coral restoration, charming in a tailored blazer as he peppered her with questions about symbiotic relationships. She'd worn simple slacks and a blouse then, too, and he'd never treated her as anything less than his intellectual equal. In those early days, he'd encouraged her curiosity, lending his yacht's lab facilities and inviting her to sea trials. Between lectures on tidal patterns and Coast Guard inspections, they'd shared dinner on deck, her stories of fragile ecosystems, his tales of navigating international waters. When she laughed at one of his nautical puns, he'd caught her hand in the moonlight and whispered, "Don't ever lose that spark." Their courtship had been an adventure of mutual respect and admiration. She'd taught him to observe the subtle language of the waves. He taught her to steer through life's storms with steady resolve. When he proposed on the bow under a canopy of stars, his simple promise to honor her dreams as fiercely as his own had been more precious than any ring. Over 5 years of marriage, Elena had built a sanctuary in their corner of the world, a floating haven for researchers, artists, and anyone who sought solace in the sea's rhythm. She'd outfitted the Aurora Dawn with a mobile lab, guest cabins painted in calming seafoam green, and a community library stocked with volumes on oceanography and philosophy. In every plank of the deck and panel of the helm, her pride lay anchored. It wasn't the yacht's value that defined her. It was the purpose she'd woven into its heart. As the harbor lights shimmered on the water, Elena closed her eyes and breathed deep. Whatever judgment awaited her at the yacht club, she reminded herself, could never sink the steadfast harbor she'd built within. Victor paced the polished teak dock, phone pressed to his ear as he finished a call with the yacht club's management. His jaw clenched the twilight sky igniting behind him in streaks of coral and gold. When he ended the call, he turned to Elena, who watched him from the deck with quiet concern. "They said your invitation is invalid without a membership card," he said, voice even but tight. "They offered my apologies but refused to let you in." Elena's fingers tightened on the railing. "It's all right," she whispered, though the trembling edge in her tone betrayed her disappointment. Victor's gaze softened. He stepped forward and cupped her chin gently. "Not all invitations carry the same weight," he murmured, eyes fierce with determination. "Yours should." Before she could respond, he signaled to the crew. Within moments, his personal assistant, a silent fixture of efficiency, presented a gleaming membership card embossed with Victor's name and their family crest. Victor held it high for Elena to see. "You'll need to present this yourself," he said, handing it to her. "But I'd rather you not go in alone again." Elena met his eyes, reading the promise there. He wouldn't let anyone diminish her worth. That night, in the drawing room of their yacht, he outlined his plan for tomorrow's arrival. No secret docking, no subtlety. They would glide into the harbor at dawn aboard the Aurora Dawn, invitations unnecessary. Restless sleep came afterward, her dreams filled with chanting club members and echoing doors. When she woke before sunrise, she found Victor already at the helm, the yacht's lights glowing like beacons against the dark water. He offered a shy half-smile, sleep tousling his hair. "This is our first impression," he said softly, voice low with promise. "Let's make it unforgettable." As the massive vessel eased away from the dock, Elena felt her heart steady. Whatever tomorrow brought, she knew their shared courage would chart the course, and the world would see her for all she truly was. The club's grand windows faded into the distance as Victor steered the Aurora Dawn toward open water. Inside the captain's salon, shelves of leather-bound logs and maps lined the walls, lit by the soft glow of wall sconces. Elena sank into a plush armchair, tracing the grain of the mahogany table. Victor closed the doors with a decisive click that sounded louder than he intended. He paced to the chart table, spreading a nautical map that marked Seaforth's piers and docks. Yet his focus wasn't on the inked lines. It was on Elena's tension, the way her shoulders had curled inward ever since her encounter with Lawson. "Tell me how you feel," he said without looking up, voice measured. She exhaled, shoulders relaxing fractionally. "I feel small," she admitted, gaze drifting to a porthole where the sky stretched violet. "As if I'm back at that institute, being mistaken for an assistant rather than a scientist." He paused, fingertips hovering above the map. "You were never small," he said, crossing the room. "I fell in love with your passion, your intelligence. Every project you championed carried more weight than any title I hold." Elena turned to him, eyes reflecting the lamp's glow. "I know you believe that, but to the world, nothing beyond the hull of this yacht will ever matter unless they recognize me by association." Victor knelt beside her chair, lifting her hand. "Then we'll reshape their world," he vowed softly. "This," he swept an arm toward the cabin's elegant fixtures, "is just the beginning. Every plank, every polished surface will bear witness to your vision." She traced the gold inlay of the table with her fingertip. "I built all of this for the sake of discovery, to share knowledge. And you will," he affirmed, standing. "Tomorrow, Seaforth will see you. Not as my wife, but as its equal, if not its teacher." Elena's lips curved into a tentative smile. "You always know what to say." He offered his hand. "Because behind these closed doors, you taught me to speak for the things that matter. Now let's open some more." As the yacht cut through the dark water, Elena rose, slipping her fingers into his. In the hush before dawn, they plotted more than a docking. They plotted change. The first light of dawn painted the horizon in pale gold as Elena stood at the bow, wind tugging at her hair. The Aurora Dawn drifted towards Seaforth's docks like a silent storm, its vast hull dwarfing the fishing boats clustered nearby. Crew members moved with quiet precision, preparing lines and bumpers. Elena's breath hitched with anticipation as Victor emerged from the pilot house, his navy jacket buttoned crisp. He offered a small nod, and she turned back to the rising sun. In that moment, Neither needed words. The calm before the upheaval was its own declaration. Along the dock, club members had already gathered. Portly gentlemen in pastel blazers, ladies in hats perched at tilt, all murmuring over steaming coffee. Their narrowed eyes drifted to the aurora dawn, whispering among themselves. Rumors of a surprise visitor had circulated overnight, but none expected this leviathan of steel and teak gliding effortlessly into their waters. Elena tucked her hands behind her back and drew in a steadying breath. She recalled how, as a child, she'd weathered thunderstorms by the shore, learning to stand firm as the wind howled and waves crashed. She drew on that memory now, feeling a familiar resilience coil within her. The yacht eased alongside the main pier without a sound. Lines dropped, fenders fell into place. Elena descended the gangway onto polished planks, her simple dress and sensible flats a quiet contrast to the opulence around. Conversation hushed, heads turned, and a ripple of surprise passed through the onlookers. She paused at the foot of the gangway, scanning the faces, some curious, some disdainful. A single crewman held the membership card Victor had given her, extending it without hesitation. Elena accepted it, fingers brushing the embossed crest. She lifted her chin, steadying her gaze on Harbor Master Lawson, who stood with arms crossed and lips pressed tight. Victor appeared beside her, placing a steady hand at her elbow. His presence was a shield, his expression solemn pride. As cameras clicked and whispers swelled, Elena stepped forward, membership card in hand, ready to claim her place, not as a guest, but as a force to be reckoned with. The silent storm had arrived. The waterfront glowed with pale morning light as the aurora dawn's bow cut through the calm water, steering toward the Seaforth docks. Fishermen paused in their nets, and dockhands leaned on rails, everyone drawn to the yacht's graceful approach. Elena stood at Victor's side on the upper deck, her pulse echoing the quiet rhythm of the waves. As the yacht glided alongside the main pier, its massive shadow stretched across the wooden planks, drawing gasps from the small crowd of onlookers. Crew members dropped heavy lines with practiced skill. The thud of the winches was the only sound beyond the soft lap of water. Elena descended the broad teak staircase, each step purposeful. Her linen dress caught the dawn breeze, and the soft fabric danced at her knees. She moved without hesitation, clutching the embossed membership card in one hand, Victor's presence just behind her. At the pier's edge, she paused. Her gaze swept the club's cream-colored facade and its gleaming brass accents, a fortress of tradition. White-gloved attendants straightened their uniforms, while club members, mid-conversation, turned to watch. Their polite expressions faltered into surprise. Harbor Master Lawson emerged from the club's entrance, his crisp uniform a stark contrast to the yacht's organic curves. His eyebrows shot up as Elena held the membership card aloft. "Miss Harper," he said, voice strained with formality. "Welcome." She nodded once, a soft smile curving her lips. "Thank you." Behind her, Victor's laughter, low and genuine, rippled across the deck. Cameras perched at the railing clicked in unison, capturing the moment. Club members murmured, shifting uneasily as they recognized the name Harper. Elena took a single step closer to the dock's edge, letting the morning sun illuminate her face. She turned to Victor and whispered, "Nearly forgot how bright dawn can be." He offered his arm, pride shining in his eyes. "It becomes brighter still," he replied, and together they stepped onto the pier. A hush settled over the club's assembled guests, broken only by the gentle creak of the aurora dawn's fenders against the dock. In that luminous morning light, Elena Harper stood unbowed, her arrival at dawn heralding more than a docking. It marked the beginning of a new chapter. Gentle ripples rocked the deck as Victor and Elena stepped aboard the Aurora Dawn, their presence commanding quiet attention. Crew members moved aside respectfully, and Elena felt eyes flick to her every gesture. She took a deep breath, savoring the yacht's familiar aroma of polished teak and sea salt. From the upper rail, well-dressed club members leaned forward, lips moving in silent gossip. A cluster of elderly patrons in pastel blazers exchanged raised eyebrows, while a trio of younger members, fashionable in linen trousers and silk scarves, whispered rapidly into a smartphone, filming her poised stance. Their calls of "Who is she?" and "Is that his wife?" drifted down as soft murmurs, threaded with curiosity and thinly veiled judgment. Elena passed them with measured strides, her simple dress and flat shoes a deliberate choice. Some faces flushed with surprise upon recognizing her, not just as Victor's partner, but the revered sponsor of marine conservation efforts. A hush rippled through the group as a woman with a diamond-studded brooch murmured to her companion, "She's the one funding the Coral Reef Project, isn't she?" Victor joined her at the helm station, offering a supportive smile. "Let them whisper," he said softly. "They're finding their footing." She nodded, lifting her chin. "Let them learn." Below, the yacht's gangplank retracted with a soft whir, and Elena moved toward the salon doors. As she passed, the club's maitre d' approached with a silver tray bearing chilled champagne flutes. He dipped his head, presenting the first glass to her. Elena accepted it, her fingers brushing his gloved hand, and glanced back at the gathering. Their startled expressions softened into smiles of reluctant admiration. Conversations resumed, but with a new tone, respect tempered by awareness. Outside, seagulls wheeled above the harbor, their cries a stark contrast to the refined murmurs below. Elena sipped the champagne, feeling its cool effervescence invigorate her. Victor's arm slipped around her waist. "You've made quite the impression," he whispered. She exhaled, the weight of their stares lifting with each bubble on her tongue. "Not the kind I expected," she replied, eyes glinting with triumph. Above them, the morning sun climbed higher, casting both yacht and club in the same radiant light. And there, on the deck of the Aurora Dawn, Elena Harvey stood at the heart of every whisper. A hush fell over the dock as Victor stepped forward, clearing his throat. He lifted a hand in greeting, his voice carrying easily across the assembled members. "Thank you all for welcoming us," he began, eyes sweeping the circle of faces. "Elena and I are honored to be here." Murmurs of acknowledgement rippled through the crowd. Harbor Master Lawson, who had earlier stood stiffly at attention, now dipped his head and motioned toward the club's entrance. A pair of attendants flanked the mahogany doors, their expressions softened by new respect. One by one, club members offered nods and tentative claps. The woman with the diamond brooch stepped forward, extending a gloved hand to Elena. "Mrs. Harper," she said with a carefully measured smile, "welcome to Seaforth." Elena accepted the handshake, noting how genuine warmth now lit the woman's eyes. A distinguished gentleman in a cream suit approached next, his cane tapping gently on the planks. "Your husband's generosity to the Marine Institute is legendary," he said, voice rich with sincerity. "And it's a privilege to finally meet the woman behind such vision." Elena's lips curved in a small smile. "Thank you," she replied. "The ocean has given us so much. I only hope our work can give back in kind." Across the gathering, younger members who had earlier filmed her now lowered their phones, their whispered commentary replaced by respectful murmurs about her conservation foundation. A cluster near the railing discussed logistics for upcoming regattas, including Victor's participation, while another group spoke of inviting Elena to speak at their next lecture series. Victor placed a gentle hand on Elena's back, guiding her toward the entrance. "Shall we?" he asked. Inside, the Grand Hall's crystal chandeliers glinted as doors swung open. Club members parted to create a pathway, their earlier reserve melted into genuine inclusion. As Elena crossed the threshold, she paused to look back. The morning light danced on the water, illuminating faces that had once shunned her but now welcomed her. In that unlikely moment, she realized that respect, once demanded, could also be earned. She stepped into the hall beside Victor, ready to claim her place not as an outsider, but as a valued member of the Seaforth Yacht Club. Morning sunlight filtered through the club's arched windows as Elena entered the grand salon. Murmurs rippled through the gathering, Conversations about upcoming yacht races, charity dinners, and the coveted annual gala scheduled for 2 weeks away. Elena caught sight of Lawson conferring urgently with the event coordinator, his usual composure replaced by uneasy tension. Victor guided her past rows of upholstered chairs toward a cluster of board members huddled over clipboards. Papers rustled as they flipped through seating charts and guest lists. One woman's cheeks were flushed, and a man in a gray suit ran a hand through his hair, glancing repeatedly at Elena with startled admiration. A hush fell when Victor cleared his throat and addressed the group. "Elena has graciously agreed to be our guest of honor at the gala," he announced, voice steady. "Her work in marine conservation aligns perfectly with this year's theme, Guardians of the Sea." The board members exchanged surprised glances before nodding. Elena felt her pulse quicken as eyes turned toward her. She offered a small, gracious smile. "It would be my privilege," she said softly. "I hope to inspire others to protect our oceans." Lawson stepped forward, handing her a freshly printed program. "We've made some adjustments," he said, voice sincere. "We'd like you to lead the ceremony's opening toast." Elena accepted the program and examined the schedule. Her name now occupied the stage slot once reserved for a local dignitary. Below it, Victor's entry in the regatta had been moved to prime position, ensuring maximum attention. A junior coordinator approached, cheeks pink. "We've also created a new award in your name," she said. "The Harper Prize will recognize innovative marine research. We'd appreciate your input on the criteria." Elena's throat tightened with gratitude. "I'd be honored," she replied. As she and Victor stepped away, she glanced back to see Lawson offering a respectful nod. The winds of tradition had shifted, reshaping old hierarchies. Outside, the ocean breeze carried the promise of change. Elena Harper, once dismissed at the door, now held a compass to guide this community toward a shared purpose, proving that respect, once withheld, could transform an entire club. Elena watched from the dais as guests mingled beneath crystal chandeliers, their conversations a gentle hum that filled the grand ballroom. Seated at the head table, she felt the weight of expectation, not as a burden, but as a mantle she was ready to bear. Victor sat beside her, his supportive smile a steady beacon. When the time came, Harbor Master Lawson moved forward to introduce her. His voice, once curt and distant, now carried warmth. "Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to present Mrs. Elena Harper, whose dedication to our oceans has inspired us all." Applause rippled through the room as Elena rose. She stepped to the podium, gown flowing softly, and surveyed the faces before her, many of them once skeptical, now attentive. She paused, gathering her thoughts. "Tonight," she began, "we celebrate more than yachts and regattas. We celebrate guardianship of our seas, our communities, and one another." Her words found their mark, resonating in the hush that followed. She spoke of the fragility of coral reefs, the resilience of coastal communities, and the power of collective action. Midway through her address, she noticed Lawson in the back corner, his posture relaxed, eyes shining with genuine admiration. Beside him, the woman in the diamond brooch nodded, her earlier reserve transformed into respect. Elena's heart warmed. As she concluded, she lifted her glass. "To the sea that connects us all, and to the understanding that every person, no matter their appearance or pedigree, has a vital role in its stewardship." Glasses chimed, filling the salon with a crystalline melody. Afterward, guests approached her with ideas and proposals. A young scientist seeking funding for a plastic cleanup initiative, a club member offering to host educational workshops, even an artist proposing a marine-themed exhibit. Each request Elena met with gracious attention, her simple elegance matched by thoughtful responses. Later, Victor hailed a passing waiter. "Shall we?" he murmured. They stepped away from the crowd onto a small balcony overlooking the moonlit harbor. The night air was cool, fragrant with salt and promise. Elena leaned into him. "You were right," she said softly. "Respect can be earned through grace." Victor kissed her temple. "And you, my love, gave the lesson." Together, they watched the water shimmer below, knowing this was only the beginning of a far-reaching tide. The next morning, Elena wandered the yacht club's grounds before breakfast, sun filtering through swaying palm trees. She paused at the edge of the water, watching small sailboats drift across the harbor. Nearby, maintenance crews polished brass railings and adjusted white umbrellas, their movements purposeful and attentive. As she turned to head inside, a familiar voice called her name. It was Daniel, the junior member of Victor's crew who had first greeted her with kindness. He carried a stack of event proposals. "Mrs. Harper," he said, offering them with a respectful nod. "I thought you'd like to review these new community outreach plans." She accepted the papers, noting ideas for youth sailing lessons, beach cleanup weekends, and scholarship programs for underprivileged students. "These are fantastic," she replied, her eyes lifting to meet his. "Thank you for bringing them forward." Daniel's face lit with pride. "Your speech inspired a lot of enthusiasm. The club wants to do more than sail. They want to serve." For the first time, Elena saw the club through fresh eyes. Members she'd once assumed would remain aloof now approached her with genuine eagerness. The man who ran the cafe stall offered her a sample of a new seaweed-infused pastry, explaining its nutritional benefits. A trio of young members shyly asked for her feedback on their proposed marine photography exhibit. She realized they no longer saw just a yacht owner's wife, but a leader with vision and purpose. At the dining terrace, Lawson joined her. He placed 2 cups of coffee on the table. "Thank you for everything yesterday," he said quietly. "You've opened our eyes to broader horizons." Elena smiled, accepting a cup. "It wasn't my intention to teach a lesson," she said, "but I'm glad to see minds ready to change." Lawson nodded. "You reminded us that respect begins with seeing each other fully." As they sipped their coffee, Elena gazed out at the calm water. The club's grand windows reflected her own image, poised, confident, and at ease. She realized that the walls she once believed divided her from this world had been permeable all along. With eyes wide open, Elena stepped back into the club's embrace, ready to chart new courses alongside those who, at first, could scarcely see beyond appearances. A crisp breeze whispered across the harbor as Elena and Victor climbed aboard the sleek racing sloop moored beside the Aurora Dawn. Deckhand Daniel handed Elena a racing jacket embroidered with Seaforth crest, and she pulled it on, the fabric sturdy and new. Around them, crews readied yachts for the annual regatta, halyards rattling, sails unfurling like great wings. At the starting line, a flotilla of vessels bobbed in anticipation. Elena steadied her stance at the bow, hand on the rail, heart racing in time with the drumbeat horn. Victor checked their course chart, nodding. "Ready?" he asked, eyes bright with competitive fire. She met his gaze, adrenaline sharpening her focus. "Let's win this." The horns sounded, and the fleet surged forward. Elena and Victor worked in seamless harmony, she adjusting the jib sheets, he trimming the mainsail. Wind caught the canvas, propelling them ahead of several competitors. Seagulls wheeled overhead, their cries drowned by cheering from the docks. Elena felt the exhilaration of speed as the racing stripes on the water foamed past the hull. She glanced at Victor, who grinned. "You're a natural," he shouted over the rush of wind. As they rounded the first buoy, another sloop lurked close behind. Elena anticipated the gust that would shift the windward mark and called out, "Prepare to tack." The crew responded instantly. Victor eased the main sheet while Elena swung the jib, their boat pivoting cleanly, slipping ahead. Mid-course, an unexpected crosswind gusted, jolting the rigging. The competing sloop faltered as its crew scrambled. Elena kept her cool, directing Daniel to tighten the stays. Their sloop surged, cutting diagonally through the race line, gaining a decisive lead. By the final leg, the Aurora Dawn racing team led by a boat length. Spectators leaned over railings, phones raised in applause. Elena found herself smiling, not with triumph alone, but with the unity of partnership. As they crossed the finish line, the horn sounded triumphantly. Victor raised Elena's hand in celebration, their joy echoing across the harbor. From the deck of the Aurora Dawn, club members waved and cheered, Their earlier doubts washed away in the wake of victory. That day, the annual regatta affirmed more than skill. It proved that collaboration and trust, guided by Elena's insight, could turn the tide in anyone's favor. The victory celebration spilled into the clubhouse courtyard, laughter and music mingling with the salty breeze. Elena stood by the railing, watching crews tie up their boats and hand over polished trophy cups. Club members approached her in friendly clusters, some offering congratulations, others asking for her insights on sail design and wind currents. A distinguished gentleman in a navy blazer raised his glass. "To Mrs. Harper, our champion," he toasted. Elena lifted her flute in acknowledgement, warmth blooming in her chest. He continued, voice earnest, "Your understanding of ocean dynamics changed the race today. We have much to learn from you." Nearby, a group of younger sailors debated a new hull shape. One of them, a wiry woman with sun-bleached hair, turned to Elena and asked, "Would you review our prototype design? Your perspective would be invaluable." Elena agreed, and they exchanged contact details. Victor found her by the edge of the terrace, handing her a plate of hors d'oeuvres. "You've created quite the ripple effect," he said softly. Elena smiled, tasting a smoked salmon canopy. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, Harbor Master Lawson approached, extending a sealed envelope. "On behalf of the board," he said, "we'd like to formally invite you to serve on the advisory committee for next year's regatta." His tone held genuine respect, free of the earlier condescension. Elena accepted the envelope, her fingers brushing Lawson's. "I'd be honored," she replied. Lawson nodded, relief softening his features. "Your leadership has reshaped our traditions." Across the courtyard, the club's president moved among guests, introducing Elena to visiting dignitaries and potential sponsors for her conservation projects. Each handshake and introduction carried the weight of sincere esteem. Later, as twilight settled, Elena and Victor strolled along the quay. Lanterns cast flickering reflections on the water, and the aurora dawn loomed silently at the dock. Elena paused, running her hand along its polished rail. "I never imagined I'd find acceptance here," she said. Victor wrapped an arm around her waist. "They've seen your worth," he replied, "and tides of respect are hard to turn back." Elena leaned into him, eyes on the gentle waves. In the ebb and flow of harbor life, she had found her place, and with it, a community transformed by the grace of true leadership. Dark clouds gathered on the horizon as Elena stepped onto the deck of the Aurora Dawn, the air heavy with an electric tension. The Yacht Club's annual black tie gala had ended hours ago, yet the docks were still alive with lantern light and distant laughter. She inhaled slowly, savoring the calm before the storm. Victor emerged from below deck, frowning at a message on his phone. He slipped it into his pocket without a word, then wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "Something's come up," he said quietly. Elena looked up at the rising moon, its silver glow muted by swollen clouds. "What is it?" He exhaled, eyes steady. "Lawson just informed me the club council is disputing our participation in next week's charity sale. They claim protocol wasn't followed when you accepted the advisory role." A chill drifted down her spine. Despite the warm reception they'd enjoyed, the club's old guard still wielded its rules as weapons. "They can't undo what's already been done," she replied, voice firm. Victor nodded. "Agreed. But they've scheduled an emergency meeting tomorrow to review the charter. If they revoke your appointment, the sale, and the fundraising for the reef project could collapse." Elena's gaze hardened. "Then we'll just have to weather this." She squared her shoulders and looked out over the restless water. "I didn't come this far to be knocked off course by bureaucracy." Below, a distant roll of thunder rumbled. Crew members secured loose lines and battened hatches against the coming rain. Elena descended the stairs to join them, offering calm direction as they worked. Her unflinching composure under pressure reminded her why Victor had chosen her as partner in life, and in every challenge they faced. By late night, the yacht was secured, and Elena returned to the deck alone. Lightning flickered across the sky, illuminating the dock in stark relief. She pressed her palm to the cold rail and whispered to the wind, I will not let them stop us. As the storm clouds edged ever closer, Elena Harper stood resolute, ready to confront the tempest of resistance with the same determination that had guided her through every trial. In the gathering darkness, her spirit shone like a beacon. The morning meeting convened in the club's oak-panel boardroom, its high windows streaked with rain. Elena entered beside Victor, the hush broken only by the murmur of thunder. Around a long mahogany table sat the council, stiff collars, pursed lips, and arms folded as if bracing for battle. The club president called the session to order, voice taut. We are here to review Mrs. Harper's advisory appointment and consider whether proper procedure was observed. He slid a leather dossier across the table toward Lawson, who took it with a nod. Elena met their stern gazes without flinching. When the president turned to her, she cleared her throat. Good morning. I appreciate the council's diligence in upholding these rules. May I address any concerns? A middle-aged member in a charcoal suit spoke first. Our bylaws require nominations 6 weeks in advance and a 2/3 board vote. None of that occurred before your speech. She opened her own folder, presenting the signed minutes of an extraordinary board meeting Victor requested and attended 2 days prior. Here is the record of the session convened with proper notice. Every council member was invited, and the vote was unanimous in favor of my role. She tapped the document confidently. Murmurs rippled through the council. The president leafed through the pages, brow furrowed. This meeting was not publicized to the general membership, he said. Some feel transparency was lacking. Elena nodded. I understand transparency is vital. That meeting minutes were distributed to every member the next day, along with the revised schedule for the charity sale and details of the Harper Prize award criteria. All communications were sent via the club's official newsletter and posted on the member portal. The room grew still. A younger council member cleared his throat. I received the newsletter. Your initiatives have energized the membership. Another member offered. The regatta preparation is unprecedentedly smooth thanks to your guidance. The president exhaled, his expression softening. It seems the procedures, while accelerated, were duly followed and beneficial to the club. He looked at Lawson. Is that correct, Harbor Master? Lawson rose. All protocols were observed, sir. Mrs. Harper's contributions have united members and advanced our mission. The president returned his gaze to Elena. Very well. The council affirms your appointment, and the charity sale will proceed under your leadership. A ripple of relieved applause filled the room. Elena offered a gracious nod. As she and Victor left the boardroom, the rain had eased. Outside, a sliver of sunlight broke through the clouds, reflecting on the wet dock, a promise that standing firm, with integrity and clarity, could turn storms into calm. Soft rays of sunlight glinted off the wet docks as Elena and Victor emerged from the boardroom. The tension of the storm's aftermath replaced by a quiet triumph. Club members paused in their morning routines to offer nods and smiles, small gestures that spoke volumes of shifted attitudes. The club president approached, extending his hand to Elena. I must thank you personally, he said, voice warm. Your steadfast leadership has renewed our confidence in what this club can achieve. Elena accepted the handshake, meeting his eyes. I'm glad to have been of service, she replied. Nearby, Lawson caught her attention and handed her a folded program. The Harringtons have requested that you serve as a judge for the youth sailing competition, he said. They believe your expertise will inspire the next generation. Her smile widened. I would be honored. Across the courtyard, the woman with the diamond brooch, now comfortably dressed in a simple cardigan, beckoned Elena over. Would you consider presenting the Harper Prize at the gala dinner? She asked. Your presence would mean so much to the recipients. Elena nodded. It would be my pleasure. Victor leaned close, pride in his gaze. They're truly welcoming you now, he murmured. Elena glanced at the lineup of new sailing skiffs being inspected by eager teenagers. Look at them, she said softly. They're already lining up to learn. A young girl with braided hair ran forward, holding out a hand. Mrs. Harper, Sir Victor asked me to invite you to our practice race tomorrow. He said you'd like it. Elena knelt to meet the girl's wide-eyed enthusiasm. Thank you. Elena, she said, using the girl's first name in an intimate gesture. I'll be there. As she rose, a gentle breeze swept the courtyard, carrying laughter from the boathouse. Club members clustered in animated discussion, planning new community events and educational programs. The Harrington's yacht glittered in the sunlight, its polished hull a mirror to the bright sky, a fitting backdrop for a community transformed. Victor slipped an arm around Elena's shoulders. A turn of favor indeed, he said, voice low. Elena leaned into him, watching the youth practice hoisting sails. When people see what truly matters, she said, they rally with open hearts. Together, they walked toward the boathouse, the club's future unfurling before them like a sail catching wind. Morning light shimmered along the hulls as Elena stepped into the boathouse, greeted by the scent of damp ropes and varnished wood. Young sailors moved with focused energy, adjusting rigging and checking sails under Victor's watchful eye. Despite the day's promise of competition, a serene hush lay over the scene, an unspoken anticipation that felt as gentle as the breeze drifting through open doors. Victor approached, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. They're ready, he said quietly. And so are you. Elena surveyed the lineup of skiffs, their white sails crisp against pale water. She remembered her own first race years ago, the knot of excitement and fear in her stomach, the roar of the crowd mingled with salt spray. Today, she felt something different, calm determination. Daniel hurried over, carrying clipboards and race markers. The course is set, he reported, voice bright. Wind is steady from the southeast, ideal conditions. He paused, meeting Elena's gaze. Thank you for doing this, he added. They look up to you. A cluster of teenagers hovered nearby, adjusting their life jackets and trading nervous smiles. One boy with freckled cheeks tugged at a sail line. Mrs. Harper, he called, voice wavering. Could you watch our start? Make sure we're lined up right. Elena knelt beside him, tracing the course markers on the floor. You're in lane 3, she said softly. Keep your sail trimmed until the horn, then bear off toward buoy 1. Trust the wind, and trust yourselves. The boy's eyes lit, confidence replacing doubt. Across the boathouse, the club president lingered by a stack of trophies, nodding approvingly as volunteers prepared refreshments. The woman with the diamond brooch paused to offer Elena a warm smile, her earlier formality replaced by genuine camaraderie. Elena rose, brushing her hands on her pants. Outside, the race committee's flag fluttered. A hush fell as the first horn sounded. The young sailors climbed aboard, muscles coiled like springs. Elena and Victor slipped back to the docks, standing side by side as the fleet edged toward the starting line. In that quiet moment before the roar, Elena inhaled deeply, the scent of sea and anticipation filling her lungs. Here, on the brink of competition, she felt the full circle of her journey, from doubt to dignity, from outsider to leader, ready to watch others chase their own horizons. The signal flag snapped up, and a shrill horn split the air as the young sailors lunged forward. Elena stood at the water's edge beside Victor, their eyes tracking each skiff as it caught the morning breeze. The fleet surged ahead in a swirl of white sails and eager determination. Elena's pulse quickened at the sight of the boy in lane 3. His freckled face set in concentration as he angled his sail, just so. Waves lapped against hulls, and the whispering breeze carried cheers from the dock. Victor wrapped an arm around her waist. Look at them go, he murmured. Across the water, rival boats jockeyed for position. A sudden gust lifted one ahead of the pack, but its inexperienced crew over-trimmed the sail, causing it to yaw and lose speed. Elena spotted a girl in a coral life jacket, lane 5, seizing the moment. She eased her sheet and slipped past, her posture confident. Grace under pressure, Elena remarked, eyes bright. The girl's skiff, once trailing, now pointed toward the windward mark, carving a clean arc. Victor nodded, scanning the course. They're learning fast. Closer to shore, members of the yacht club gathered atop the pier, binoculars raised. Some held programs, Others leaned forward, applauding every maneuver. A hush fell as the boats approached the first buoy. Elena traced the course with a finger, guiding her mind through each tack and jibe. The boy in lane 3 reached the buoy, trimming his jib in time to pivot without stalling. Elena cheered, as did a chorus of voices from the dock. He shot her a grateful smile, then refocused on the next leg. Victor kissed her temple. What a race! The fleet fanned out across the harbor, each young sailor responding to the wind's capricious whispers. Elena felt pride swell, not for her own past victories, but for the promise these young mariners carried in their hands. As the boats carved paths through sunlit waves, Elena realized that today's regatta was more than a competition. It was a testament to growth, mentorship, and the power of believing in one another. Proof that even the smallest hands could harness the wind. With the harbor alive in motion, Elena and Victor watched as the next generation of sailors chased the horizon, their spirits buoyed by hope and hard-won confidence. The sun blazed as the skiffs rounded the final mark, sails billowing like wings. Elena's heart pounded in her ears as she watched the boy in lane 3 and the girl in coral life jacket neck and neck, water foaming along their hulls. On the dock, the crowd pressed forward, voices taut with excitement. Victor hooked an elbow around Elena's waist, sharing in her anticipation. "Too close to call," he murmured. The two yachts sliced toward the finish line, jib sheets eased or hauled with precise timing. The boy glanced over his shoulder, eyes alight with determination, while the girl leaned forward, every muscle coiled to seize the fastest gust. The air crackled with the energy of competition and the promise of triumph. With a final gust, the girl's skiff surged ahead by mere inches. Elena let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. The horn sounded triumphantly as the girl crossed the line first, arms raised in disbelief and joy. The boy followed closely, his face a mixture of disappointment and pride. A swell of cheers erupted from the dock. Elena rushed forward, clapping and calling out, "Well sailed, both of you." Victor joined, his applause echoing hers. The young winner's grin was radiant as she lifted her hands, glancing back at her rival with a respectful nod. The boy returned the gesture, their shared sportsmanship shining brighter than any trophy. Club members surged onto the pier, cameras flashing. The club president stepped forward, trophy in hand, and called the winner to the dock. Elena slipped beside her, offering a congratulatory hug. "You embodied everything I hoped to see today," she said warmly. "Your skill and grace were inspiring." The girl's eyes brimmed as she accepted the trophy. The boy approached next, and Elena knelt to meet his gaze. "Second place is nothing to be ashamed of," she told him. "You raced brilliantly. Next time, the wind will favor you." He beamed, confidence rekindled. Victor lifted the boy's hand, echoing Elena's gesture. "A true champion," he said. As the young sailors stood shoulder to shoulder, trophies gleaming in their hands, Elena looked out at the harbor. The Aurora Dawn rested peacefully at its mooring, a silent testament to the day's lessons. In that moment, she knew the future of this club, and of the sea itself, was in capable, courageous hands. With the finish line behind them and boundless horizons ahead, Elena Harper felt a profound pride in every rising sailor, each one ready to chart their course through life's unpredictable waters. Twilight draped the harbor in hues of lavender and rose as guests gathered aboard the Aurora Dawn for an intimate celebration. Lanterns floated atop the deck, casting a warm glow over polished teak and gleaming brass. Elena moved among the clusters of sailors, club members, and friends, her simple dress now accented by a string of pearls, Victor's gift for the evening. Champagne flutes tinkled, and laughter rippled through the air as the young regatta participants recounted daring tacks and near capsizes. Elena found the girl in the coral jacket, now radiant in her victory, and raised her glass. "To courage," she toasted, "and to the wind that guides us." The girl beamed, echoing the sentiment with a shy sip. Across the deck, the boy in lane 3 laughed with his family, animatedly pointing out his improved technique. Victor joined Elena at the rail, handing her a plate of hors d'oeuvres. "They've outdone themselves," he said, nodding toward the crew, who served smoked salmon and truffle canapes with practiced grace. Elena leaned against the rail, watching their reflection dance on the water. "This," she murmured, "is what it was all for." A hush fell as Victor cleared his throat from the raised platform by the helm. He lifted his glass, eyes shining. "Tonight, we celebrate more than a race won or lost," he began, voice rich with emotion. "We celebrate partnership between Elena and me, between mentors and students, and between this club and the sea we love." Applause rippled across the guests, and Elena felt a swell of pride. The crew launched floating lanterns into the sky, each one carrying a handwritten wish for the ocean's health. Elena watched as the soft lights rose, petals of flame drifting upward until they merged with starlight. Later, music drifted from hidden speakers, soft jazz that mingled with the lapping waves. Couples swayed, and children chased each other in gentle circles. Elena took Victor's hand, leading him to the bow. There, under a canopy of lanterns and stars, they danced barefoot, the yacht's gentle motion lulling them in time. As the night deepened, Elena closed her eyes, letting the laughter, music, and sea breeze envelop her. A celebration afloat had become a testament to unity, respect, and the boundless possibilities that arise when hearts and horizons align. Under the glow of dawn lanterns, Elena strolled along the club's new boardwalk extension, its polished railings gleaming with dew. Yesterday's celebration still lingered in the air, laughter echoing off the Aurora Dawn's hull and lanterns bobbing on the water. Today, conversations turned to rebuilding connections severed by old biases. She paused as Victor approached Harbor Master Lawson beside a restored section of dock planking. The two men inspected the fresh wood, their earlier tension transformed into collaborative focus. Elena joined them, and Lawson offered a genuine smile. "Thank you for your support in funding these repairs," he said, voice earnest. "This bridge will not only withstand the sea, it will carry our community forward." Elena nodded, tracing her fingers over the grain. "It's more than wood and nails," she replied. "It symbolizes our commitment to one another." Across the pier, the woman with the diamond brooch oversaw volunteers installing a plaque commemorating the inaugural Harper Prize winners. She glanced over and waved Elena over. "I've arranged for this boardwalk to host monthly marine education workshops," she explained, voice bright. "Your foundation's materials will be featured here." Elena's heart warmed. That's exactly the kind of bridge we need between knowledge and curiosity. Nearby, a small group of junior sailors gathered around Daniel, sketching designs for colorful murals along the boardwalk's fence panels. They looked up, offering Elena their concepts, portraits of sea turtles, waves, and coral. She knelt to discuss color choices, her enthusiasm igniting theirs into a flurry of creative energy. Victor joined her then, wrapping an arm around her waist. "Looking good," he whispered. "Bridges truly rebuilt." Elena stood and surveyed the scene. Council members and club staff working side by side, young and old collaborating on murals, and Lawson coordinating logistics, all united in purpose. The festival of unity they'd sparked was translating into tangible change. As she walked hand in hand with Victor toward the Aurora Dawn, the morning sun broke through lingering clouds, casting a golden path across the water. Elena realized that respect earned and maintained, like this sturdy boardwalk, would endure long after any storm, carrying the community toward horizons of shared possibility. The cool morning air carried a sense of anticipation as Elena stepped into the club's reception hall. Where once she had been an outsider, today she was greeted by friendly faces and warm congratulations. At the front desk, Lawson waited with a polished leather folder bearing Seaforth's emblem. He offered it to her with a genuine smile. "On behalf of the board, I'm honored to present your official club membership," he said. "No more special appointments. This is yours by right." Elena's fingers brushed the folder as she accepted it. She opened it to reveal a sleek membership card and a welcome letter signed by the president and all council members. Her breath caught at the sight of her name printed alongside long-standing patrons. "Thank you," she replied, voice soft but steady. "It means more than I can say." Behind her, Victor appeared, pride shining in his eyes. He slipped an arm around her shoulders. "You've earned every bit of this," he whispered. As they moved into the grand hall, a circle of members rose to applaud. Past skeptics now stood in genuine admiration. Artists, sailors, and philanthropists who had once questioned her place here. One by one, they offered handshakes and embraces. The diamond-brooched woman pressed a bouquet of wildflowers into Elena's hands. "Welcome home," she said. A group of junior sailors crowded around, eager to show her the latest designs for the boardwalk murals. A club historian approached next, requesting permission to document her story in the annual journal. Each invitation reaffirmed her new standing. Victor raised his glass, an impromptu toast forming among the members. To Elena Harper, he declared, voice clear, "May her membership enrich this club as her vision has enriched our mission." Glasses chimed in agreement, the sound echoing beneath the timbered ceiling. Elena lifted her card, reflecting on the journey from that first brusque refusal to this jubilant acceptance. She looked out through the hall's arched windows at the harbor beyond, where the Aurora Dawn waited. In that moment, membership represented more than access. It was a testament to respect won through perseverance, grace, and unwavering integrity. Clutching her wildflowers and smiling amid her new community, Elena Harper stepped forward, ready to sail new seas of possibility alongside her fellow members. Elena stood in the club's sunlit courtyard, overseeing the unveiling of a stone bench engraved with a simple inscription, "In kindness, we find our true course." Children from the sailing program gathered, their laughter weaving between the columns of white, flowering bougainvillea. Victor joined her, handing out small seed packets bearing the Harper Foundation logo. "Plant these along the shoreline walk," he suggested. "Let's grow something beautiful together." She smiled, pressing a packet into the hand of a young sailor who beamed with excitement. Nearby, club members strolled by, pausing to read the bench's inscription and share memories of Elena's initiatives. A veteran yachtsman recounted how she had personally guided him through a particularly challenging regatta attack, while a biologist praised her tireless work restoring reef habitats off the coast. Elena felt a warmth bloom in her chest, not from the sun, but from the community she had helped transform. It wasn't the docking of a super yacht that mattered most, but the ripples of kindness spreading outward. Scholarships awarded to underprivileged youths, educational workshops in marine science, and beach cleanups drawing volunteers who once hesitated at the club's gates. A soft voice beside her said, "You've started something that will outlast us all." She turned to find Lawson holding a sapling. "Plant this next to the bench," he said, "a living reminder of what you've done here." As they knelt to dig a small hole, Elena looked around at the faces shining with purpose, young and old working side by side. Even Harbor Master Lawson's stern demeanor had softened into genuine warmth, his earlier skepticism replaced by respect. When the sapling was planted, Elena stood and brushed soil from her hands. Victor slipped an arm around her waist. "Your legacy of kindness will guide this place for years to come," he said. Elena gazed at the growing tree, its fragile leaves reaching skyward. "We did it together," she replied, voice steady. "Kindness isn't just an act, it's a legacy." As the courtyard filled with applause and the scent of salt and blossoms, Elena Harper realized that true wealth lay not in opulence, but in the enduring bonds of compassion she had helped forge. And in that moment, the Seaforth Yacht Club belonged to everyone. Elena stood on the deck of the Aurora Dawn as the gangplank retracted, the yacht's engines humming to life. Around her, friends and club members gathered to see her off, handshakes, waves, and sincere farewells drifting across the water. Beside her, Victor adjusted the helm, his familiar confidence steadying her excitement. A chorus of horns sounded as small boats escorted them out of the harbor, their wakes glinting in the afternoon sun. Elena leaned on the railing, watching the shoreline recede. The flowering courtyard, the stone bench etched within kindness. We find our true course, and the young sailors planting saplings by the boardwalk. Each scene felt deeply rooted in the spirit they'd cultivated together. Victor guided the yacht into open water, and Elena felt the thrill of the sea stretch before them. She turned to him, wind whipping strands of hair around her face. "Thank you for bringing me here," she said softly, "and for reminding me where home truly is." He smiled, reaching for her hand. "No matter where we sail, we carry this community with us." Their course set for a research expedition along the coast. Crew members unfurled sails as the Aurora Dawn caught a steady breeze. Elena watched the canvas swell, feeling the power of wind and water working in harmony, much like the trust and respect she'd found ashore. Below deck, Daniel handed her the latest reef survey maps. "The team's ready," he reported. "They've charted points for sampling and sightings." Elena nodded, pride warming her chest. She and Victor had designed this voyage to collect data for the Harper Prize recipients, ensuring their legacy of kindness extended beyond the club. As the coastline slid past, cliffs giving way to sandy coves, Elena closed her eyes, breathing in salt and possibility. Around her, laughter and conversation drifted up from the deck below. Plans for new workshops, commitments to sustainable practices, and dreams of future voyages. Victor crossed to her side, wrapping an arm around her. "Together," he said, voice low. "Always together." Elena opened her eyes to the horizon, the sun glinting on endless blue. In that moment, she knew their journey was more than a voyage. It was a promise that respect and kindness, once set in motion, would carry them, and everyone touched by their work, toward boundless new horizons. The research vessel sliced through glassy water as dawn's first light painted the sky in rose and gold. Elena stood at the bow of the Aurora Dawn, surveying the survey teams, harvesting coral samples, and recording data on tablet screens. The expedition had already discovered 2 previously undocumented reef formations, hopeful signs that their conservation efforts would bear fruit. Behind her, Victor consulted with the chief scientist, charting a course toward the next study site. Their partnership, born from respect and forged in adversity, had become a beacon for marine researchers and philanthropists alike. Elena slipped past them to the deck rail, where a small group of Harper Prize awardees exchanged excited chatter about publication plans and collaborative grants. A gentle breeze carried their laughter, and Elena smiled. When she first arrived at Seaforth Yacht Club in simple attire, she could never have imagined her journey would ripple outward to communities, classrooms, and laboratories around the world. Yet here they were, a floating hub of discovery and hope. She hooded the latest volume of the marine journal the club's historian had dedicated to her, its cover featuring images of a youth regatta and the boardwalk murals. In its pages lay stories of transformed lives, scholarship recipients captaining research vessels, artists partnering with biologists to create educational exhibits, and veterans finding solace in adaptive sailing. Elena closed the journal, her gaze drifting to the horizon where sea and sky met in an embrace of possibility. She traced the line between known and unknown, the threshold she and Victor had crossed countless times, guided by curiosity, compassion, and conviction. Victor joined her, slipping an arm around her waist. "What's next?" he asked, voice soft with wonder. She rested her head against his shoulder. "Whatever lies beyond," she replied. "We'll meet it together." Below deck, the expedition teams readied for another day of surveys, the hum of scientific instruments mingling with the yacht's steady engine. Children's drawings of sea turtles lined the bulkhead, a reminder that the seeds of inspiration they planted would continue to grow. As the Aurora Dawn pressed into the open sea, Elena Harper felt a surge of gratitude and resolve. Beyond the horizon awaited new challenges and discoveries, but armed with kindness, respect, and boundless hope, she knew they were ready to chart every course together.